Something strange is going on, and I don't say that lightly. I walked into the store expecting a normal grocery run. You know, grab some bread, maybe a can of soup or two, and what I found instead left me honestly stunned. The shelves weren't just picked over. They were bare. And no, I'm not talking about the usual suspects. This wasn't a repeat of the 2020 toilet paper panic or a bird flu egg shortage. This felt different. The economy's been wobbling like a Jenga tower lately, and it looks like it's finally starting to tumble. The craziest part? The missing items weren't luxury snacks or trendy TikTok buys. They were staples. The kind of everyday things you expect to find in every grocery store no matter what. But now? Vanished. Gone. As if they never existed. And trust me, I searched everywhere. Multiple stores, different chains, even late-night runs hoping to catch a new delivery. Before we dive into the 12 essential grocery items I couldn't find anywhere, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Because if this trend keeps up, you're going to want to stay one step ahead. Let's talk about what's really happening and what you should be looking for right now. 1. Orange juice, the breakfast icon on the brink. Let's talk about a national treasure that's quietly vanishing from our breakfast tables. Orange juice. That golden, citrusy burst of sunshine we've come to associate with mornings is slipping into a supply crisis, and no one seems to be talking about it enough. It's not just a little price bump or a temporary shortage. This is a full-blown crisis brewing in America's orange groves. So, what's causing this juice-pocalypse? 2 words. Citrus greening. It's a bacterial disease that's being spread by tiny insects called Asian citrus psyllids. They're small, sneaky, and absolutely devastating. Once a tree is infected, its fruit becomes bitter and misshapen, and eventually, the tree dies. Farmers across Florida, which was once the orange capital of the country, are watching helplessly as their groves turn into ghost orchards. According to recent reports, Florida's orange production is now at historic lows. We're not just talking about a bad season. This is the worst it's been in decades. And if that wasn't bad enough, unpredictable weather patterns are piling on. Between hurricanes, droughts, and record-breaking heat waves, orange trees are under siege from all angles. These conditions are driving up production costs, and the few oranges that do survive are more expensive to harvest and squeeze. That means higher prices at the store, if you can even find it. Lately, shoppers are reporting barren juice aisles, and some stores are limiting how many cartons customers can buy. Orange juice is more than a drink. It's a tradition. It's the zesty sidekick to bacon and eggs, the secret star of Sunday mimosas, and, for many families, a must-have pantry item. Losing it would feel like losing a part of our culture. Scientists and farmers are scrambling to fight back. There's research underway to develop disease-resistant citrus trees, and some groves are experimenting with new ways to keep crops alive. But progress is slow, and time is running out. Until then, we might be entering an era where a glass of OJ becomes a rare treat instead of a breakfast staple. So next time you enjoy that sweet, tangy sip, know this: it might be more precious than you think. 2. Canned tuna, the pantry staple that's disappearing fast. Now let's talk about a lunchtime legend that's becoming harder and harder to find. Canned tuna. For decades, it's been the no-fuss answer to quick meals. Tuna salad sandwiches, casseroles, and protein-packed snacks straight from the can. Tuna has been a trusted go-to in kitchens across the country. But something's changed. On a recent grocery run, I was stunned to see the tuna shelf nearly empty. And this wasn't just one store, it was every store. The main culprit? Overfishing. Our love affair with tuna, especially varieties like bluefin and yellowfin, has pushed global fish stocks to the brink. According to marine experts and conservationists, tuna populations are dwindling, and the ocean simply can't keep up with the demand. International efforts to regulate tuna fishing have made some progress. Illegal and unreported fishing continues to be a massive issue. The fallout is hitting us directly. To cope with supply shortages, some tuna brands are quietly shrinking their can sizes. You might not even notice at first, but the contents are lighter and the price is creeping higher. Other brands are steering customers toward alternative fish like sardines or mackerel. But let's be honest, those don't scratch the same itch. Tuna has a clean, neutral flavor and a texture that's hard to replicate. Even the much-hyped lab-grown tuna and plant-based alternatives are still in their infancy. They might be sustainable, but they're far from affordable. Not to mention, they can't beat the convenience of opening a can of the real thing when you need a quick protein fix. For families on tight budgets, canned tuna has always been a lifesaver. Cheap, nutritious, and long-lasting. Losing that would be a serious blow. But this goes deeper than grocery shelves. The tuna industry employs millions around the world, from fishermen to processing plant workers to shipping crews. A decline in tuna supply could send ripple effects through the global economy, affecting livelihoods and driving prices up even more. So if you're lucky enough to still have a few cans tucked away in your pantry, treasure them. And maybe don't tell your neighbors. Because if this trend continues, we might be looking at a future where canned tuna becomes a black market delicacy. 3. Peanut butter, the beloved spread under threat. And just when you thought your snack game was safe, here comes the heartbreaker. Peanut butter. This isn't just another pantry item. Peanut butter is emotional. It's the glue of every PB&J sandwich that got us through school lunches and midnight cravings. It's the star of countless cookies, smoothies, and spoonfuls eaten straight from the jar. But lately, it's been harder to find on store shelves, and when you do find it, it's noticeably more expensive. So what's going on? The peanut industry is under serious pressure from two powerful forces: climate change and shifting agricultural priorities. The major peanut-producing states in the U.S., Georgia, Alabama, Texas, have been hit hard by extreme weather events. We're talking about scorching droughts, sudden floods, and heat waves that disrupt planting and destroy crops. These weather patterns are becoming more unpredictable and intense, throwing off harvests and reducing yields. At the same time, peanut farmers are feeling the pinch from market changes. With the rise of peanut allergies and health-conscious trends, demand for peanut butter has become more unstable. Some farmers are opting to plant alternative crops that are less risky or more profitable. The result? Fewer peanuts overall. And that means less peanut butter for the rest of us. According to agricultural reports, this supply squeeze is already pushing prices up. Manufacturers are also dealing with higher transportation and production costs. And some are even shrinking jar sizes without lowering prices. Meanwhile, brands are introducing more natural alternatives. Almond butter, sunflower seed butter, cashew spread. But let's be real. Those options are way pricier and they just don't deliver the same comforting punch of flavor. Efforts are underway to develop more climate-resilient peanut varieties and improve farming techniques, but that's a slow process. And in the meantime, peanut butter could become one of those sometimes foods instead of a daily staple. Imagine walking into your grocery store and seeing peanut butter in a locked case, sold like a premium product. Sounds extreme? Maybe. But the way things are going, it's not impossible. So before you whip up your next PB&J or sneak a spoonful from the jar, take a moment to appreciate it. Because if supply issues continue, peanut butter could join the growing list of everyday groceries turning into rare luxuries. And that, my friends, would be a snack time tragedy. 4. Packaged salad greens when lettuce becomes a luxury. All right, let's take a moment for all the salad lovers out there. Because even your humble bag of pre-washed greens is starting to vanish like a magician's trick. Seriously, I never thought I'd walk into a store and not see a wall of spinach, romaine, arugula, and those spring mix blends we all buy with good intentions. But lately, those shelves are looking mighty sparse. So what's really going on with our leafy greens? In one word, drought. California, which is responsible for producing the vast majority of America's lettuce and salad greens, is running out of water. And when you're a farmer deciding which crops to keep alive, you're going to favor the ones that bring in more profit per drop, like almonds and avocados. Unfortunately, lettuce and spinach don't make the cut. But that's not the whole story. Add in rising labor costs, surging transportation fees, and pandemic-era supply chain disruptions that still haven't fully recovered, and you've got a recipe for empty produce shelves. According to USA Today, these factors are combining into a salad crisis no one expected. But it's very real. Stores are struggling to keep shelves stocked, and when those bags of greens do show up, they're pricier, have shorter shelf lives, and often look like they've had a rough journey. Meanwhile, more people are getting fed up and turning to farmers markets, backyard gardens, or even those trendy countertop hydroponic towers just to get their salad fix. Sure, vertical farming might be the future, and yes, it's a cool concept, but it's not saving us today. Large-scale, affordable, widespread vertical greens are still years away. So in the meantime, your Caesar salad might come with a side of sticker shock. Or not come at all. If you're someone who genuinely enjoys a fresh, crisp salad, even if you just like the idea of eating healthy before watching it wilt in your fridge, take this as your wake-up call. The convenience of grabbing a ready-to-eat bag of greens might soon be replaced with either growing your own or forking out luxury prices. Lettuce isn't just wilting, it's disappearing. 5. Potato chips, the crunch crisis no one saw coming. Now, let's move from the healthy to the heavenly. Potato chips. Yes, we're talking about that salty, greasy, satisfying crunch that makes sandwiches better and movie nights complete. Well, brace yourself, because those beloved bags of joy, They're under attack! And I don't mean just metaphorically. I mean quite literally, from the ground up. Farmers are in trouble. A devastating plant disease known as late blight, the same fungus-like invader that contributed to the Irish potato famine, is making a dangerous comeback. It thrives in warm, wet conditions, and thanks to climate change, those conditions are becoming far too common. Entire potato fields are being decimated, with crops rotting before they can be harvested. And it's not just disease. Add in extreme weather, droughts one year, floods the next, and growing potatoes becomes a gamble with shrinking odds. According to agricultural analysts, yields are down and costs are up, which means chip companies are feeling the crunch too, literally. Ever noticed how your favorite chip bag is mostly air? That slack fill is now reaching ridiculous levels. Brands are shrinking bag sizes, raising prices, and still struggling to meet demand. Some manufacturers are even pivoting to alternative starches, cassava, lentils, even green peas to try and replicate the magic. But let's be real, that's not a potato chip. That's a compromise. For snack lovers, this isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a full-blown crisis. Potato chips are comfort food royalty. They're the thing you grab when life is a mess and you just need something that makes sense. Losing them to disease and climate chaos? It feels personal. Imagine a future where grabbing a bag of classic chips is a rare luxury, where we start seeing them locked behind plexiglass or sold in single-serving packs like fine chocolate. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But with the current trajectory, it's not impossible. So next time you're enjoying that crunchy, salty, greasy bite, pause and appreciate it. Because with shrinking crops, rising prices, and fake chip substitutes creeping in, your favorite snack may soon become a memory, and that's a flavor nobody wants to taste. 6. Coffee beans. Your morning ritual is in jeopardy. All right, deep breaths. This one hits hard. We're talking about the one thing that gets most of us out of bed in the morning. The holy grail of morning routines. The ritual, the comfort, the magic, coffee. Imagine waking up, stumbling into the kitchen, and not smelling that rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Horrifying, right? Unfortunately, this nightmare scenario is starting to creep into reality. And the reason is as complex as your favorite espresso blend. Coffee is under siege, from climate change, plant diseases, and pests. The most prized coffee bean in the world, Arabica, is extremely picky. It thrives only in narrow altitude and temperature ranges. And guess what? Those stable conditions are now vanishing. Rising global temperatures and unpredictable rainfall are pushing coffee farms out of their sweet spots, leading to declining yields. One of the biggest threats is coffee leaf rust, a deadly fungal disease that's ravaging crops in Central and South America. Combine that with persistent droughts in Brazil, one of the largest coffee producers in the world, and we've got a perfect storm brewing. And trust me, it doesn't taste good. According to the Washington Post, these challenges are already translating into real consequences. Prices are spiking, supply chains are tightening, and quality? It's slipping. Farmers are trying to adapt by growing hardier coffee varieties, but those don't always taste the same. That silky smooth cup you love? It might get replaced by a more bitter, less satisfying alternative. Then there's the issue of labor shortages. Coffee is still largely hand-picked, and finding enough skilled workers is becoming tougher and more expensive. Add in shipping delays, inflation, and increased global demand, and it's no surprise that your daily cup is costing more and showing up less often. Some people are already shifting to instant coffee or lower-end blends just to keep their caffeine habits alive. But if you're a true coffee lover, you know that's not the same. It's a downgrade. And if this trend continues, our morning pick-me-up could soon be as rare and costly as aged wine. So take a moment with your next cup. Sip it slowly. Appreciate the warmth, the aroma, the comfort. Because we might be heading toward a future where coffee is no longer an everyday pleasure, but a high-priced indulgence you'll have to budget for. 7. Beef products. The king of the grill is going MIA. Let's be honest. When you think of summer cookouts, comfort food, or a good old-fashioned American dinner, what's the centerpiece? Beef. Steaks, burgers, briskets, tacos, you name it. Beef has long been the king of the dinner table, the sizzle behind the celebration. But lately, that glorious slab of red meat is becoming harder to find, and way more expensive when you do. So what's really happening to our beef supply? It's a perfect storm of issues. First, rising feed costs are crushing ranchers. Corn and soy, the main ingredients in cattle feed, are getting more expensive due to global supply disruptions, inflation, and climate-related crop failures. That alone is pushing up the cost of raising cattle. Then factor in ongoing droughts, especially in key cattle-producing states like Texas and Kansas. Water shortages are forcing ranchers to reduce herd sizes because they simply can't sustain them. But there's another layer: environmental pressures. Cattle farming produces methane, a potent greenhouse gas. As climate change becomes a bigger political and public issue, beef production is under the microscope. Some grocery stores, feeling that pressure, are now reducing beef inventory and pushing more plant-based alternatives. Now, don't get me wrong, plant-based burgers are fine, for some. But let's be real. No amount of pea protein and beet juice is going to replicate the flavor, texture, and experience of biting into a perfectly grilled ribeye or a thick, juicy cheeseburger. And while lab-grown meat is making headlines, it's nowhere near ready to feed the masses or match the taste of the real deal. According to Forbes, beef is already becoming more limited on store shelves, and prices have shot through the roof. Your favorite burger joint might soon be charging gourmet prices for what used to be a humble cheeseburger. That means backyard barbecues may go from a regular weekend ritual to a special occasion luxury. If trends continue, we could be looking at a future where beef is a delicacy, like lobster or truffles, served rarely and with reverence. So next time you fire up the grill, savor that burger, because it might not be long before it becomes a once-in-a-while treat instead of a dinner-time staple. 8. Canned soups, the comfort food that's quietly disappearing. Picture this. It's a cold evening, you're exhausted, and all you want is something warm and easy. You reach for a can of your favorite soup, the comforting, reliable hero of lazy dinners and sick days. But lately, that shelf is shockingly empty. Yep, canned soups, those pantry MVPs that have stood by us through snowstorms, the flu, and college dorm life, are becoming harder to find. At first, you might not think much of it. Maybe your specific flavor was just out of stock. But it turns out, there's a bigger story simmering behind those empty shelves. According to Food Dive, the canned soup industry has been battling massive supply chain issues since the pandemic began. When panic buying took over in 2020, soup flew off the shelves, and manufacturers still haven't fully caught up. Add to that a sharp rise in demand during colder months and emergency prep spikes, and suddenly production is stretched thin. And it's not just demand, it's costs. Aluminum tin prices have surged. Transportation expenses have climbed. Labor shortages have slowed manufacturing. Many soup brands have quietly cut back their product lines to focus on best sellers, dropping lesser-known flavors altogether. That means less variety and even fewer cans overall. If your go-to soup happens to be anything other than chicken noodle or tomato, it may have been silently discontinued. And for soup lovers, that hits hard, because nothing beats the ease and nostalgia of cracking open a can of soup on a rough day. Sure, you can try making homemade soup or buy frozen options, but it's not the same. And definitely not as affordable. Canned soup has always been a budget-friendly lifesaver. Losing it, or paying double for it, starts to hurt your wallet and your winter sanity. So what can you do? If you spot your favorite soup on the shelf, maybe buy an extra can. Not to hoard, but because the way things are trending, it could be weeks before it returns. If it does at all. And if you're trying to stock your pantry with cozy, easy meals for the months ahead, know this: canned soup may soon be as rare as snow in July. 9. Maple syrup, the sweet gold that's drying out. All right, syrup lovers, this one's going to hurt. If you thought your pancakes were safe from the great grocery disappearance, think again. Because maple syrup, that velvety amber nectar of the breakfast gods, is quietly slipping into endangered territory. And no, we're not being dramatic. Real maple syrup, the kind tapped from sugar maple trees in the US and Canada, is facing a serious threat. The problem starts with climate change. You see, the flow of maple sap depends on a delicate balance of cold nights and warmer days in early spring. But warmer winters and unpredictable temperatures are throwing that rhythm completely out of whack. Producers are now forced to tap trees earlier and for shorter periods of time. That means less sap per tree and lower yields across the board. According to CNN, syrup production has already dropped in recent years while demand continues to rise. And surprise, surprise, prices have jumped accordingly. But climate isn't the only issue. Land development is reducing forest areas, labor costs are increasing, and for small-scale syrup makers, keeping up is becoming impossible. Many are being forced to shut down or sell out to larger operations. Those big companies are now turning to automation and tech to streamline the process. Think tubing systems, vacuum pumps, even syrup monitoring apps. But it's still not enough to fully combat Mother Nature's interference. So what does this mean for us? The breakfast enthusiasts who just want a drizzle of magic on their waffles. It means those tall glass bottles of pure maple syrup might soon be treated like high-end whiskey. Smaller bottles, higher prices, locked shelves, and even more fake maple-flavored syrup flooding the market. Yes, there are alternatives. Honey, agave, corn syrup. But let's be real. None of them bring the same deep, rich flavor as the real deal. Maple syrup has soul, it has heritage, and it has the power to turn a sad pancake into a celebration. So if you've got a bottle in your pantry right now, treat it with care. Pour it slowly. Appreciate every golden drop. Because if these trends continue, maple syrup might become the breakfast world's version of fine wine. Rare, expensive, and savored only on special occasions. 10. Avocados, the green gold that's drying up. All right, brace yourselves, avocado lovers, because we've got some tough news coming your way. You know that creamy, dreamy, perfectly Instagrammable green fruit that turns toast into a masterpiece and guacamole into a celebration? Yeah, avocados are in big trouble. And not just the usual, they're expensive today kind of trouble. I'm talking about serious, systemic issues that are threatening their very existence on our grocery store shelves. The main issue? Water. Avocados are incredibly thirsty fruits. In fact, one single avocado can require up to 70 gallons of water to grow. That's not a typo. 70 gallons for one fruit. And with record-breaking droughts sweeping through major growing regions like California and Mexico, the water simply isn't there anymore. According to Reuters, avocado farmers are being pushed to the edge. Fields are drying out. Yields are down. And the cost of producing even a modest harvest is skyrocketing. As if that wasn't enough. Transportation costs have gone through the roof, thanks to global fuel hikes and supply chain disruptions. And don't forget export restrictions, which can change overnight and limit how many avocados even make it to your local store. You know that moment when you pick up an avocado, glance at the price tag, and your soul quietly weeps? Yeah, get ready to feel that a lot more often. We're talking $3–4 per fruit in some places, and that's if they're even in stock. And the cruelest twist of all? Sometimes, after shelling out top dollar, that perfect-looking avocado is either rock-hard or already mushy inside. Tragedy. Now, farmers are working on more sustainable practices. Drip irrigation, shade growing, even developing drought-resistant avocado varieties. But those solutions take time. In the meantime, brunch fanatics and guacamole devotees are being forced to get creative. Some are trying substitutes like mashed peas or edamame dip. But come on, let's not pretend anything else compares to that buttery, nutty, rich goodness of a ripe avocado. So the next time you slice one open and find that perfect green interior, pause, savor it. Because with the way things are going, avocados might become less of a staple and more of a once-in-a-while indulgence. The green gold rush is real, and we're watching it unfold in real time. 11. Specialty cheeses, when luxury turns to legend. Now this one hurts. Because if you're someone who considers cheese not just food but a lifestyle, the news isn't good. The days of strolling down the fancy cheese aisle and picking out a wheel of triple cream brie or a wedge of funky blue for your charcuterie board may be coming to an end. That's right, specialty cheeses are becoming increasingly rare and rapidly more expensive. So what's happening to our beloved fromage? A perfect storm of economic pressures, climate stress, and shifting consumer demand is squeezing artisan cheesemakers to the breaking point. Let's start with the basics. Milk prices are rising, thanks to droughts, feed shortages, and the increasing cost of keeping dairy cows healthy. When the base ingredient of cheese gets more expensive, every product down the line follows. Then throw in energy costs, because aging and storing cheese isn't exactly a cold-free process. And of course, let's not forget that climate change is making dairy farming more unpredictable. Too hot and the cows suffer. Too wet and feed becomes moldy or rots. It's a balancing act that's becoming impossible for many small farms. According to Cheese Market News, some cheesemakers are already scaling back operations, discontinuing rarer varieties, or shutting down entirely. That beloved truffle-infused wedge you used to treat yourself with? Gone. That perfectly runny wheel of raw milk camembert? Vanishing. Meanwhile, your store might still carry cheddar and mozzarella, but those small-batch handcrafted beauties are getting replaced by mass-produced flavorless blocks. As if that wasn't enough, the rising popularity of plant-based diets is shifting supermarket focus. Vegan cheese alternatives are taking up more space, pushing traditional specialty cheeses further into the margins. And while some nut-based options are decent, let's be real. They're not the same. No vegan cheddar will ever give you the melt, the aroma, or the emotional satisfaction of a slice of real, aged Gouda. So what's the takeaway here? If you've got a soft spot for cheese that comes wrapped in paper and wax instead of plastic, now's the time to appreciate every single bite. Because if these trends continue, true artisanal cheese may soon become less of a grocery find and more of a museum exhibit. Cherish your cheese, folks. It might just become the most sophisticated relic in your fridge. 12. Chocolate. The sweet escape that's melting away. Okay, deep breath. We've saved the most devastating for last. Because if there's one thing that unites the world, one guilty pleasure that almost everyone agrees on, it's chocolate. Sweet, dark, bitter, milk, melted or solid, chocolate is the universal answer to bad days, broken hearts, and everything in between. But here's the terrifying truth. Chocolate is in serious danger. The backbone of chocolate, cacao beans, is facing major threats from every angle. Climate change is making traditional cacao-growing regions hotter and drier, which messes with flowering, pollination, and ultimately, harvest yields. But it gets worse. Deforestation is wiping out critical growing land, pests are spreading more rapidly in warming temperatures, and labor shortages are crippling harvest operations. Even the biggest chocolate brands, Hershey's, Mars, Nestle, are feeling the heat. According to the New York Times, many companies are scrambling to invest in sustainable cacao farming. Things like shade-grown trees, better worker protections, and fair trade practices. But that kind of change takes years to implement, and the damage is already showing. Prices are steadily creeping up, and maybe you've noticed something suspicious. Your favorite candy bar seems smaller? That's not your imagination. It's called shrinkflation, where companies reduce portion sizes while keeping prices the same, or even increasing them. One square less here, a few grams shaved off there, and before you know it, your chocolate indulgence becomes a luxury experience. Some researchers are exploring lab-grown cacao, and while that sounds promising, it's still in its infancy. Until it becomes scalable and affordable, it won't be able to fill the gap. And let's be honest, synthetic chocolate doesn't sound like the kind of thing that satisfies your soul after a long day. So what happens if cacao supplies continue to drop? A world where real chocolate becomes a rare treat, like truffles or imported wines. Imagine walking into a store and seeing your favorite dark chocolate bar locked up behind glass, or priced like it came from a vault. A world where you savor a single square as if it's gold because, well, it basically is. So next time you unwrap a bar and break off that perfect piece, take your time. Let it melt slowly. Appreciate the texture, the richness, the escape. Because at the rate we're going, chocolate might soon become the ultimate rare indulgence. And we're all going to need a moment to mourn